Okay, good morning, 3C. This is Mr. Wong. Today is the 28th of April, Tuesday. Alright, today we'll go through your homework yesterday, which is question 7 to question 12 of the Materials Topical Worksheet. And then for your homework today, will be question 13, 14, 15, which is the remaining question of the worksheet. Alright, so let's start the ball rolling. Let's go through question 7. Alright, so in this topic of materials, it's important to know and to link your answer or your reasoning back to the property of the material that you are talking about. So in this case, we want to make a lens. We want to make the lens of a spectacle. So in your mind, I want you to think about what is the important property that a lens must have. If without a property, the lens can't work. Okay, so in terms of property, we learn 5 properties. We learn about strength, we learn about flexibility, transparency, whether it's waterproof, and whether it can float on or sink. So these are the 5 properties that we have learned. So looking back at the 5 properties that we have learned, what property must the lens have so that it can work? So if you think about what is lens used for, lens is used to see. So it must allow light to pass through. So always think back on the property of the material when you are answering a materials question. Alright, okay, let's change it to red and make it a bit smaller. Alright, so okay, alright, okay, so for lenses, the important property here is that it needs to allow light to pass through. So if it needs to allow light to pass through, you realize that there are a few properties here. You have waterproof, you have transparent, you have flexibility. Since lens, the important property here is to since lenses, the important property here is to make sure that light passes through. So let's focus on the property, which is the property of it being transparent. So let's focus over here, being transparent. So I need the lenses to be transparent. So it has to be either B or C. There's no point having the lens not being transparent, then I can't see, then I can't use it. Okay, so the lens must be transparent. At the same time, let's look at other properties. Must it be waterproof? Yes. Imagine if we drop it into the swimming pool, then what happens? Or into the drain, what happens? Okay, so our spectacles need to be waterproof in case it rains and then our spectacles get wet. So it's important for our lenses to be waterproof. So if it needs to be waterproof, so it's either A or B. So you realize for the lenses, does it need to be flexible? Don't need. Okay, it doesn't, the lenses do not need to be flexible, so no. So no is the correct answer over here. So you realize the one with all 3 ticks is B. So the answer is 2. Answer is B. Alright, because always go back to the properties of the material. I want lens to be transparent, it allows light to pass through. I want the lens to be waterproof. So these 2 already tells is B, and adding that it is not supposed to be flexible, it doesn't need to be flexible. So no, so yes, yes, no, answer is 2. Okay, now we go on to the next question. I have 4 materials over here. Okay, I have 4 materials over here, W, X, Y, and Z. There are a few different properties over here. There are 4 over here. The key word here is that I want to sleep inside without being woken up by the rain or the sun. That means if it rains, I don't want to be affected by the rain. If it's very sunny, I don't want to be affected by the sun. So I want to avoid the rain, I want to avoid the sun. So if I want to avoid the rain, okay, let's look at the first clue here. If I don't want to be disturbed by the rain, means it has to be waterproof. Okay, because if it's waterproof, the water will be kept out of the tent. I won't be disturbed by the tent. I won't be disturbed by the rain. I can still continue to sleep. Okay, I don't want to be disturbed by the sun, means it doesn't allow light to pass through. Okay, imagine you can sleep until the afternoon, and yet you don't it is not very bright because the sun doesn't come through the tent. So if I don't want to be woken up by the sun, I must make sure that the tent doesn't allow light to pass through. So these are the two important property that I must have. One is being waterproof, 2, it doesn't allow light to pass through. So let's look at the material. Let's look at waterproof first. I want it to be waterproof. Yes, yes, yes. So it's either W, X, or Y. I don't want light to pass through because I don't want to be disturbed by the sun. I don't want light to pass through. I don't want light to pass through. I don't want light to pass through. So realize the only one with 2 ticks is here. So let's look at other properties. Must it be flexible? Yes, you realize I have to bend the 10. Okay, I realize I have to bend the 10. Realize as I fix the 10 up, I need to bend the 10 over here. So it has to be flexible. If not, I cannot bend the 10. Okay, so it has to be flexible and it has to be light. Okay, I need to carry it around, right? So I need to be light. So answer is 1. Okay, answer is 1. Okay, so always think back on the properties of the material. That's the key concept you need to practice over here. Okay, next one, let's go to question 9 and 10, which is this flowchart over here. So every time you start off here on top where the start is, then you follow through. Does it allow light to pass through? Yes. So I know this one allows light to pass through. Okay, you can write this down. Because once you know already, you can always write it down. Allows light to pass through. Okay, and then after that, for Q, I know it doesn't allow light to pass through. I know it's not waterproof. So again, same thing, write down over here. Mirror over here. I know it is doesn't allow light to pass through. Let's just write shorter. Just write doesn't or don't, easier. Don't allow light to pass through. And on top of that, it also not waterproof because it is not, it's no to waterproof, so it's not waterproof. Okay, so analyze the diagram first before you analyze the flowchart before you go and do your questions. So over for R, same thing. What I know about R, I know it doesn't allow light to pass through. Okay, on top of that, it is waterproof because it says it is waterproof. Okay, it is waterproof. So besides don't allow light to pass through, it is waterproof. And on top of that, it is not flexible, or we call it stiff. Because it says no, I'm not flexible, so it is stiff. So the last one, let's write it down. What is S? What properties does S have? So same thing, all come from this stem over here. So it don't allow light to pass through still. And then it doesn't allow it to pass through. It is waterproof. But on the other hand, the only difference between S and R is that it is flexible. Okay, so write all the properties down that you know. Alright, so with this, now we know about PQRS, the properties of all of them. Now we go on to the question. I want something that is good for tires. Okay, I want something that is good for tires. Okay, so what do I need for tire? What properties does tire need? Tire needs to be waterproof for sure. Okay, tires need to be waterproof as well as it needs to be flexible. You remember tires made of rubber, so one property of rubber is that it is flexible. Okay, so I want something that is waterproof and flexible. So let's look at, I want something that is waterproof. Okay, I want something that is waterproof. That is definitely here. Okay, let's start from the top. Tire, do I need it to allow light to pass through? No, I don't need light to pass through a tire. I need it to be waterproof. I need it to be flexible. So the answer is S. So answer is 4. Because tire, I don't need light to pass through. No. I need it to be waterproof. Yes. I need it to be flexible. Yes. So answer is S. So answer is 4. Okay. So next one. I want to make a fish bowl. Some of you don't understand what fish bowl is. Okay, fishbowl is, for example, I have a fish, is like a fish tank. Okay, so if you don't know what is a fishbowl, just link it to a fish tank. Just fish tank is a bigger version of a fishbowl. Basically, fishbowl is where you put a fish, where you put a pet fish, for example, in a bowl, just one fish. So you can link it to a fish tank. So if fish tank is easier for you to understand, let's use a fish tank. So fish tank, what is the important property here? Fish tank, it needs to be, you want to see the fish, right? So you need to allow light to pass through. If not, how are you gonna see the fish? Okay, so to see my pet fish, I need to make sure that the material I use for my fish bowl or my fish tank allows light to pass through. Um, it has to be waterproof. Okay, cannot absorb water, right? Because the water is where the fish is living in. Okay, it has to be, don't, it can be stiff. Okay, it doesn't need to be flexible at all. So first and foremost, the most important thing here is I need light to pass through. So let's go from the start. Fishbowl, I need light to pass through, yes, so it must be P. So the answer is P. Okay, so for the answer is 1. Okay, because fishbowl, most importantly, I must allow light to pass through. That's why it has to be transparent, allow light to pass through. So it has to be P, which is answer 1. Okay, let's look at question 11. Okay, yesterday I went through with you how to break down a question, so I'll just do a fast one. So I am here testing the strength, how strong the 3 strings are. They're made of different materials. So this is the variable I changed. Okay, I only changed one variable. I changed the material. Okay, this is what we call the change variable. The thing I changed in my experiment. Okay, so okay, moving one side. All right, so you can see this. Okay, so you realize that I have 4 strings. Okay, sorry, I have 3 strings. I want to test the strength of the 3 strings. What happens is that I only change the material. I only change the material, and that is my change variable. So I have 3 strings here, all of the same length, and I'm putting marbles one by one until the string breaks, and this is the instructions. So he records the observation below. So X can carry 20 marbles before it breaks. Y can carry 13. Z can carry 35. It is not the numbers that matters, not the absolute raw number that matters, but really who can carry most, who can carry least. All right. So from these numbers, I can tell that Y is the weakest because it can only hold the least number of marbles before it breaks. So this is the weakest. And at the same time, I know that Z is the strongest. Okay, so most importantly is to be able to tell who is the strongest, who is the weakest amongst the numbers. Alright, it's not about the number itself, it's about what does the number tell you, the most important thing. Okay, so based on the results, which string is the strongest? So straight away you know that the answer is Z. Okay, so just put Z full stop. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so but we know Z is the strongest. How do we know Z is the strongest? Alright, most of you got the answer. Most of you say that Z can carry the most number of marbles, full stop. That's not enough. Okay, what you need to tell me is this. Okay, so if you still remember, our technique of answering open-ended question is to use claim, evidence, and reasoning. So Z is basically your claim. Later we write that down. The evidence you can see is that because carried Z could hold. This is the evidence that you can see from the table. Z could hold the most number of marbles before it broke. Okay, this is the evidence. Okay, before it broke is important. Okay, and so what if we can hold the most number of marbles before it broke? Why is it the strongest? Because the strongest material would be able to carry the most number of marbles. Before it breaks, and that's why Z is the strongest. Okay, so a lot of you are missing out on the final reasoning part. Okay, so if I could break this up into 3 parts, let me just make it bigger. Okay, so Z, this is the claim. Hold on, let's see if I can get that back. Okay, hold on for a while. Alright, so what happens is that let's break it up into claim, evidence, and reasoning. So Z is actually the claim, the answer to the question. Okay, so this is the claim. Okay, so Z is a claim. So which string? It is Z. That's the claim. So where's the evidence? This is the evidence. Okay, evidence is what the data tells me. Okay, the data tells me that Z could hold the most number of marbles before it broke. This is the evidence. So what is the reason over here? Okay, the reason over here is that only the strongest material can hold the most number of marbles. This is the reasoning. Okay, let's make sure that we get this out. The strongest material would be able to hold the most number of marbles. Before it breaks. Okay, so this is the reasoning part. Okay, let me just erase away the arrow. Okay, and then redraw the arrow. Right, so when you come to this kind of question, when they ask you to explain, try to use the CER method. Tell me the answer. Z is the answer to this question. Which string? So how do we explain? I still have evidence from the table because Z could hold the most number of marbles, and then the reason is because the strongest material would be able to hold the most number of marbles before it breaks. Okay, so a lot of you are missing on the reason. Okay, so sometimes you need the reason, sometimes you don't need the reason or the scientific reason to link the evidence to the claim. So as long along the way as we go on, you'll realize that is you will know when to add in the reasoning, when not to add in the reasoning, also according to the requirement of the question. Okay, but most of you could tell me that Z could hold the most number of marbles before it broke, which is good. Now you have to just top it up with the reasoning. Alright, so with that, in an experiment, we only change one variable. Okay, so in every experiment, just make sure you write this down. In every experiment, we only one variable is changed. Okay, we don't change more than one variable. The reason is very simple. We want to make sure that the result of the test is because of that one variable that we change. Okay. Alright, so in every experiment, there's only one variable that is changed. I don't change the length of the string. I don't change the weight of the marbles. I don't change the size of the thickness of the string, that sort of thing. I only change one thing, which in this case, because I'm testing the different materials, I'm only changing the material of the string. Okay, if I change too many things, if I change more than one thing, the result I get, I don't know, is it because it's due to the material of the string, or is it because of the mass of the marble? Okay, imagine you use 3 big marbles versus you use 3 small marbles. Definitely the one that has 3 big marbles will break first. Okay, but the answer in terms of number is just 3 for both. Okay, so you realize that the size of the marbles do matter, but in this case I'm testing the material, I'm not testing the marble. So I only change one thing, which is the material of the string. Okay, the mass of the marble must remain the same to be fair. The length of the string must remain the same to be fair. I only change the material because I'm testing which material is the strongest. Alright, so we'll go through more of this as we go along in the year, so don't worry about this. It's kind of new to you. Okay, so the next one, I have 4 different fabric, W, X, Y, and Z. I same size. I put it into a tray of water, and after 10 minutes, you realize the water is absorbed, the water is absorbed, the water is absorbed, and the water is absorbed up to the level indicated. So looking at this diagram, what can you say about the different water level? Some are higher, some are lower. So what does the high and low water level, uh, high and low markings tell you? Okay, so for Z, I know that it is the most absorbent. Okay, all 4 are not waterproof because all 4 can absorb water, but among the 4 that absorbs water, I know Z is absorbs the most water. Absorbs the most. And who absorbs the least? I know that it is Y. Okay, this is the most, this is the least. So this one absorbs the least. Okay, so with that, we can answer the first part already. So write the numbers, I'll write the letters W, X, Y, Z in the box below. Who absorbs the least? The least will be Y. Who absorbs the most? The most will be Z. Okay, so this is by looking at the diagram and making sense of the diagram. Okay, so if it has the lowest level means it absorbs the least. If it's the most level, it absorbs the most water. So in this case, I want to make a towel. What's the property of a towel? What is towel used for? A towel is for you to dry yourself. So do you want it to be very absorbent? Do you want it to absorb a lot of water or absorb very little water? So you are making a towel. So the most important thing is that it must be able to absorb a lot of water. Okay, a towel, the purpose or the function is to absorb a lot of towel. So which material can help you absorb a lot of towel, can help you absorb a lot of water? It must be Z. Okay, so Z is the answer. Okay, because Z absorbs the most amount of water, a towel needs to absorb a lot of water. That's the function of a towel, so it has to be Z. So why is that? Again, this is the claim, as I said before. Okay, just now we talked about the claim in question 11. So this is the claim. So they ask you explain. So let's talk about the evidence that is stated. Okay, so what's the evidence? Because Z absorbs the most amount of water. Okay, this is the evidence from the diagram. And why absorb the most amount of water means it's good for making a towel, because link back to the function of a towel, the towel needs to be able to absorb a lot of water. Alright. Okay, let's break it up so that you can see the structure here. Okay, so explain your answer. Z absorbs the most water. This is the evidence. Okay, this one you can see from the diagram. And what's the reasoning over here? You realize that a towel needs to absorb a lot of water. So you cannot just tell me about the evidence, you also tell me why absorb a lot of water means it's good for a towel, and this is what we call the reasoning. Okay, so there's always a claim, always an evidence, and always a reasoning. Okay, so try to structure your answer using this claim, evidence, reasoning structure, so it helps you to have a more complete answer. Okay, so a lot of you give me absorb the most water, but never tell me about towel. So why do I want something that absorbs a lot of water? Because the function of a towel is that it needs to absorb a lot of water. Okay, so the last part before we end of this session, another property of a towel besides being able to absorb a lot of water, there are a few answers. You can tell me that it needs to be flexible. Okay, so besides being very absorbent, it needs to be flexible because you need to like bend it around your body. Okay, it needs to be strong. Some will say it cannot rip easily, stuff like that. Okay, yeah, something, I think this is the two that I accepted. Okay, so it needs to be flexible and it needs to be strong because you don't want it to rip apart easily. Right, so that's the answer for yesterday's homework. Today we will finish up the last three questions of the worksheet. The same thing, I will guide you through the understanding part of these three questions. Okay, see you in the next video.